she could only sit for, let's say, 10 or 15 minutes. Now we're getting 20 or 30 minutes, and we're getting active participation. So she's listening to questions and then able to respond. So even outside of doing the movements, she's responding where previously she hadn't. So I definitely feel she's more engaged and more aware of her surroundings.
Hi, everyone. This is Kokeb. This week is extra special because we are sharing a parent story with you. We always talk about what we can do as a therapist and what kind of intervention to do, what works, what doesn't work, but nothing beats firsthand experience and hearing it from the parent. So for this week, we have a special guest here for you. We will hear from the parents who've been working with our RITP-certified provider and have seen firsthand just what this work can do for their child. I'm excited and I can't wait for you to hear their experience. So let's jump in.
I'm Jeanine Allen. I'm a disability attorney licensed in Florida. So my primary focus is disability, Social Security, veterans benefits, advocacy for education law, IEPs, 504s.
How were you introduced to Reflex Integration Through play?
I learned about the Reflex Integration Through play from our occupational therapist, Ronnie Polson, with JMS therapy.
Okay. So can you tell us a little bit about your child?
My daughter is 11 years old. She was born with a chromosome abnormality that is now called a 3p deletion syndrome. On her third chromosome, she's missing a tiny piece. At the time of her birth, there were only 50 reported cases in the world and none with her exact deletion. As of now, there are only 52 and still none with her exact deletion. She also has the autism spectrum disorder diagnosis in addition to the 3p deletion syndrome.
Wow. So can you tell me some more details about some of the challenges she was facing in her life?
Sure. So she was born with a atrial ventricular septal defect in her heart. So the very center of her heart did not form. So we had open heart surgery at 14 months. She also was diagnosed with epilepsy, a seizure disorder, which was one of the things we knew with the chromosome. She has difficulty with paying attention, sitting. She's low tone. We had trouble with gaining weight, so the failure to thrive diagnosis. She seemed to be one side. So one side was stronger than the other. And we had trouble with crossing midline, bending over, losing balance, stepping up and down stairs, some gross motor challenges and fine motor challenges.
Wow. Your family was facing a lot. How old is your daughter?
She is 11 years old.
How did those challenges affect your daily life as a parent and your family as a whole?
With the chewing skills, we did intensive feeding therapy. So now she can actually chew. Now we're struggling with the tongue movement side to form the bolus. So the chewing was a struggle where we had to either bring purees everywhere we went, which traveling became an issue. You're freezing food and bringing it with you, or you're cooking it there and grinding it up. The limitations with climbing, stepping in and out of the car on her own, stepping in and out of the bathroom, the bathtub. We worked for several years on potty training. We're still working on grasping a pencil for writing and her writing skills. She's nonverbal, so we worked very hard for her to be able to communicate her needs, even basic needs, that she needs a break or she needs food or a drink. So we work with an AAC device now that she's fairly proficient with.
Wow. Okay. And do you have other children in your family?
No, Julianne is an only child.
Okay. So I want to delve into more about your experience working with an RITP certified therapist. So what stood out to you the most about their approach?
What stood out the most about their approach? So we had the videos, and that helped with the visual component. So we would show the videos in the clinic setting and at home, and then we could break some of it down. So like the snow angels, we had trouble with her doing the arms and the legs at the same time. So if we did just the arms, she could do the movement correctly, or just the legs correctly. But then when you added the two together, we had only one arm traveling so much distance and one leg staying still while the other moved. So I liked that we could break it down into pieces and learn one piece and the other piece and then put those together as we grew to be able to do the entire movement.
Okay. So when we first got on the call, you were talking about how excited you were to tell me more about your daughter. So why don't you just give me an overview of what's changed since she's been going through this RITP therapy?
So, what has changed? We've had significant improvement. I'd say I'm going to start with the best part because it should not have happened. So, she had a straightening in her mid back, where your mid back, your thoracic spine would curve outward. Hers was completely straight. So, we've been treating with the head of orthopedics at Arnold Palmer. And for the last several years, it's been a straightened spine. So we were worried about being able to roll her neck forward or bend over and touch her toes. This past week, we had our follow up, and there is now slight curvature in the thoracic spine, which should not have happened. And we discussed this particular program in depth, and he believes that the exercises we've been doing have caused this to change when it shouldn't have. So
Wow.
that's our biggest piece. I'm extremely excited, and it has a scientific name. The other part is I noticed she would do more listening and responding. So where before, if you told her to put her arms out, she'd put them out and bring them in quickly. And now she'll put them out and leave them out. Open your arms and she'll leave them. And we're seeing in some of her other therapies and in class that she's focusing, she's processing the questions, she's responding, she's following different movements like hands on your head and your shoulders and things she didn't do before. And that we saw within weeks of the listening and processing as an improvement. Yeah, yeah. So
Okay.
incredible. And then to be able to do these movements, the snow angels, we broke it down into pieces and now she can actually do the entire movement. And we're starting to do that instead of laying down, standing up like a jumping jack kind of thing. So we've seen significant improvement.
Wow, that's incredible.
I It was truly amazing because I had no idea. And so when for all these years that it's too straight and we might have all these struggles and now there's a slight curvature. And so that part was truly amazing. So
Fantastic. That's good to hear.
yeah.
Did you use the RITP app with those videos? Yes. Okay.
Yes, we
And
used that.
so was that helpful to you having it in an app?
Yeah, the app was very helpful. So we had all of the movements there and the videos that would help her visualize. So we would show the video and then we would model it for her and she would try it. So the app was very helpful.
Okay. And how many times a week were you doing the exercises outside of the time with your therapist?
We tried them nearly every day. So they got to be fun where like the rocking back and forth and the cat and cow became a fun game. So we would do that before earning, let's say, swimming or her preferred items like swings and outside time. So we would do our 10 exercises and then earn that. So we did at least 2 or 3 of the exercises every day.
Okay. And about how much time did it take to complete those exercises?
In some of the exercises, it was just a few minutes. So, like the cat and cow would take 5 to 10 minutes. The snow angels took a little bit longer. You know, we had the two components. So, in the beginning, it was more of a struggle. So, that might take us 10 or 15 minutes to complete the full set of 10. Like opening and shutting her hand just took a few minutes. It really wasn't very long.
Okay. And was she quite receptive to it at first? Like when you first started the exercise, how receptive was she?
We had a lot of struggle with her laying flat on her back. She would want to kind of pull her head forward. So we had some struggles there and some where she didn't want to lay on her stomach. So we had to work through some behaviors with her trying to flip back over or sit back up. It took a little longer to do that, but once she was strong enough or understood the movements, it got easier. And then they just all built on each other.
So I want to ask you a little bit about some of the changes you saw from an emotional standpoint in your daughter. Did you see any emotional changes in her?
Emotional changes. I would say she seems less anxious. And more compliant. Where some of the exercises would make her nervous, like the laying on the back, you could see she would get a little bit nervous with trying to lift her head. Now she seems just more peaceful, not as anxious. She's settled in her classroom routine easier. I see overall, she just seems more at peace and more understanding in her environment.
And have you noticed any behavioral changes overall in your daughter?
Behavioral changes. I'd say she's more compliant. We were even sitting at a table in her classroom setting, she could only sit for, let's say, 10 or 15 minutes. Now we're getting 20 or 30 minutes and we're getting active participation. So she's listening to questions and then able to respond. So even outside of doing the movements, she's responding where previously she hadn't. So I definitely feel she's more engaged and more aware of her surroundings.
Okay. How about physically overall? Do you see any changes there?
Physical changes, I'd say she's getting stronger. So where we couldn't do, let's say, squats or even that bending forward. So we're now able to do the squats. She was fairly well climbing up steps. Down the steps were the issue. Now we're able to do both. She still holds the railing, but prior to, she would just kind of slide down the steps. So now I feel like her lifting her legs, like she's more aware of the stepping up and down. Her grip on a pencil, which I guess that's more of a fine motor skill, is stronger and she's not curving her wrist as much.
Oh,
So that's another physical change.
okay. And have you noticed any academic changes?
Yes. The academic changes we noticed right away was her listening to questions and responding, where before she would just not participate. And that happened right away. And I truly feel it's because you're listening to the instructions in the reflex integration through play and you have to respond. And it just made her more aware in her academics.
Right. So putting into practice what she needed to do for academic.
Right.
Okay. And how about socially?
Socially, yes, she has been more social with the students in her class. She's starting to play appropriate, like building blocks, things that she wouldn't do prior to the program. She seems more focused. We're not pacing the classroom as much as we were, and we're sitting on task for longer periods with a peer. She was always interested in peers, but wouldn't actually engage. And so now we have engagement where she'll sit and color together and trade colors or ask for colors on her iPad. And then the building blocks is a huge thing because we've never liked building blocks.
That sounds like a lot of changes on many fronts. So when you
Right.
say these changes happen pretty quickly, what time frame are you looking at that you really saw changes?
I would say the listening and responding happened quickly, like paying attention to the question and what it was asking you to do and how to respond. The biggest change I saw, she participates in therapeutic horseback riding, and they do a series of stretches like hands on your head, hands on your shoulders, arms out, and then like the tornado arms where, circles to the front, circles to the back. For 4 years, the only exercise I could get her to do was arms up. And it was seconds, like arms up, arms down, like she didn't keep them up. And within the second week of being in this program, she was trying the exercises. She was keeping her arms out and trying to circle, which for the first time in 4 years, it was amazing. And then trying to do the hands on head, hands on shoulder, and following what was being spoken and trying to do the movements. So that was huge. And it was within the first 2 weeks.
Oh, that's amazing. So I know as a mom working with your child, you're there all the time working with her and you're seeing these changes. Have you had any other people in her sphere of influence that have noticed changes in her that have brought it up to you?
Her teacher noticed changes right away with that she was listening to the questions and then responding with her device. We participate with behavioral therapy, so they noticed right away. The horse trainers at her riding program also noticed right away. It was one of those things of 4 years of riding and never participate in the exercises. And then today we're doing all of the exercises. So it was one of those cheering moments. So they noticed right away. I'd say across the board, everyone is noticing an improvement.
That's fantastic. It sounds like you had a really good therapist as well. And I know that the RITP therapists go through a lot of training to know which exercises work. So can you tell me a little bit how she interacted with the therapist?
She loves Ronnie. Ronnie takes the time to understand the child's needs outside of the program, like how many minutes we can participate before we'll have behaviors and how often we would need a break. So she's very good at reading that we can participate, 10 exercises before we need a minute to 2-minute break. So I appreciated that. She asked for the behavior therapist's input and, assistance if there were behaviors. So I felt like she worked really well with our entire team of people. It was nice that Julianne was excited to be going to OT instead of resistant. So that mattered, and that she would leave the therapy happy and not sad.
Oh, that's a huge thing, as I know there's often you can do all the right things and know all the right things to do, but if the child doesn't want to participate.
And that's the learning part, that like how we had to break the snow angels into basically two pieces before we put the two pieces together. And that definitely helped. And then so many seconds on your belly to build the strength and build the comfort, and not pushing so that we're having a meltdown where then you get nothing done. So she really took the time to know the child's needs and then kept me informed. And we worked on what I was doing at home. And I appreciated that piece too.
Okay, that's great to hear. So, would you say that your stress level as a parent for your child has it changed since your child's began this therapy?
Has my stress level changed? I would say yes. She's more compliant with dressing skills and things that we didn't have before. So, putting socks and shoes on, these are all new skills which I contribute to this program. The listening and responding is nice. I feel like she communicates with me at home easier than she does with therapists or teachers at school. There's almost a shyness or just the non-compliance. So I've seen that, which makes it less stressful, that I know she's communicating her needs and paying attention and participating. And then the peer play.
Okay, that's great. So, if you could describe your child's transformation in 3 words, what would they be?
Describe her transformation in 3 words. She's focused, she's less anxious, and she's stronger.
So, would you recommend other parents working with an RITP certified therapist?
Would I recommend other parents work with an RITP therapist? Yes, absolutely. I saw significant improvement right away, and we continue to see increased development.
Okay. And are you continuing with your therapist now?
So we're continuing. Yeah. Yeah. And I'm going to continue with the program at home and move up the level or, exercises.
Okay. If another parent was considering, should I do this? Does it really make a difference? What would you tell them as a parent who's been through it with your child?
If another parent was considering the RITP program, I would say absolutely do this. Knowing what I know with my daughter's chromosome abnormality and her spine, that things should not have changed, and seeing the dramatic changes in such a short period of time across the board, I would absolutely say to try the therapy.
Okay, that's fantastic. So, how long now has your daughter in total been going to the RITP therapy?
6 months.
6 months. Okay.
Yeah. So in 6 months, her spine now has slight curvature. She's listening and responding. She's less anxious. She has peer play. It's truly amazing.
Before we wrap up, if you're looking for a program that is more holistic, that teaches you not only the academic and the theory, but teaches you how to implement, problem solve, and work in a community and continue to work your clinical skill and grow your business. In the meantime, make sure that you check out the link below to learn more about the RITP certification program. See you next time.